What do you mean there's a hole in my eye? How could there be a hole in my eye? I just went to the doctor 2 days ago and they told me there was nothing wrong with it. Would you like to learn what happened to this gentleman? Come join me as I share with you exactly what happened to my client. He was a handyman and he had gone that morning to a lumber store to purchase some lumber to go do some handiwork at a house that he was fixing up. As he's pulling lumber off a shelf, something happens to hit him in the eye. He doesn't know what it was, but he knows that something painful is in his eye and his eye is tearing. He's brought to the bathroom in order to wash his eye out, and despite the fact that there's nothing there, he still is having a lot of pain and tearing. He's taken to a local emergency room, and in the emergency room he's specifically asked to speak to an eye doctor. A woman comes in wearing a white coat who announces herself as a doctor, begins to examine him, and then proceeds to tell him, nothing to worry about, you just have a scratch on your cornea. Here's what I want you to do. I want you to take these eye drops, and if you have any problems in the next couple of days, here's a number for an eye doctor that you can go to and see what's going on. So this gentleman felt that there was nothing wrong because the doctor told him, an eye doctor, told him that he had nothing wrong with his eye, just a simple scratch on his cornea. So he goes home, and what happens after that? Well, he tries to rest and relax. The problem is his eye is still painful, and he's still tearing. Well, the next morning he decides he's got to go to work, and he puts a patch on his eye in order to try and to stop the tears that keep coming up because it keeps soaking the gauze pad that he has on there. And as he's proceeding to work, it's becoming more and more painful, and he can't even stay at work for more than half an hour. He comes home, and during the rest of that day, he simply can barely pick his head up off the pillow. It's that painful. Finally, he decides he's going to call the eye doctor whose number he had been given in the emergency room. And they couldn't see him till the next morning. So next morning comes and goes, and he wakes up in excruciating pain. And while waiting for the doctor that morning, he has something to eat, he has some breakfast, and finally he sits down, the doctor begins to examine him, and the first words out of the doctor's mouth were, "You have a hole in your eye." And my client says, "What do you mean I have a hole in my eye? How could I have a hole in my eye? I was just in the emergency room 2 days ago, the eye doctor said I just have a scratch on my cornea." He says, "Listen, you need surgery immediately." He says, "How can I have surgery right now? I just had breakfast this morning while waiting for you. I can't have surgery." He said, "Listen, you need to go to the emergency room right now. Otherwise, there's a chance not only that you're going to lose your vision, but you could lose your entire eye. Get over there immediately." So that's exactly what he does. He gets to the hospital, and in the hospital, because he had eaten breakfast, he was not able to be put under general anesthesia. Why not? Because when you go under general anesthesia, you're not supposed to have eaten anything for 8 hours. If you have eaten something and you go into general anesthesia, there is a significant risk that you could throw up the contents of what's in your stomach and then inhale it into your lungs, and that's called aspiration pneumonia, and you could die from that. So there was no way they were going to put him under general anesthesia. So how did they fix the hole? What they did was they had to give him local anesthetic, and while he's awake, he was able to hear, listen, and feel exactly what they were doing. Could you imagine that? Lying on the operating room table, your eye is open, you can actually hear and feel and see exactly what's going on. Why? Because he ate that morning, he didn't know he was going to need surgery. But the most important thing is that as a result of the 2-day delay in getting him proper treatment, this gentleman lost most of his usable vision. Our experts were prepared to come into court and testify that if this condition had been diagnosed and treated at the time he had been into the emergency room after this incident occurred, he would have had a much better chance of having better usable vision than he had because of the 2-day delay. Now, I'm proud to say that we were able to successfully resolve his case shortly before trial, but the key thing is this was a preventable injury. This was something that could have been eliminated and prevented significantly. So why do I tell you about this story about a gentleman who had a hole in his eye? I tell you about this because chances are you have questions and concerns about your eye injury. And if you do and your matter happened here in the state of New York, what I encourage you to do is pick up the phone and call me. This is what I do every single day. I answer legal questions just like yours. You can reach me at 516-487-8207 or by email at lawmed10@yahoo.com. I'm Gerry Oginski here in New York. Thanks so much for watching.